Here's the Enlifted definition of mindset, and it's the best in the game as far as I'm concerned. It's the story that you tell yourself. That's what your mindset is. It's the story that you tell yourself. And what is that story made of? It's made up of words and breath. Good luck separating those two things. We're all on the spectrum with stuff. And that spectrum is the confidence spectrum. And it goes like this: insecure, confident, comfortable. Most people, damn near everybody, when they first start out at things, they're insecure about it. Of course, they're not good at it. Why would they be confident about it? And so the two best ways to improve the process of developing internal confidence is twofold. One, go back there and deal with the scary stories that are getting in the way. As far as mindset is concerned, there's a cleanup job to be had for damn near everybody I've ever met.
Welcome back, or welcome to the Conscious Investor Podcast, the show where we talk about health, mindset, and wealth building strategies. Backed by popular demand, no, it's not Super Rad Steve, Mark England. Yes, I know you guys love Mark, just like I do, because he doesn't hold back. And last time he was on the show, he was talking about, we dove deep into mindset, into breath work. And I had so many of you leave comments and reach out to me about that podcast episode. I know it served you powerfully. And it was interesting because it served so many of you in different ways. And that's like so rad. So in just a moment, I'm going to welcome Mark to the show. But before I do, we have to remember that the Conscious Investor Growth Summit is right around the corner and you don't want to miss out. High-level speakers not coming to sell, but coming to serve. And you're not going to get that in most places. They're not going to be pitching you a bunch of things off the stage, trying to coerce you into this or that, nor am I. They are coming in at their own expense because they care about you, Conscious Investor. So you don't want to miss out on this opportunity. Only 150 people. So it's a small space. So even our introverts might feel a little bit more comfortable. And what I noticed last year, people were able to connect in a really meaningful way. That was one of my favorite elements of the whole event. So head on over to consciousinvestorgrowthsummit.com, pick up your tickets. Let's hang out. Mark, so excited to have you back on the show. I do need to, not everyone, there is a new listener. So I want to make sure everyone does have an idea of who are you? I'm going to ask the question differently. Normally I ask, what do you do and how did you get started? I'm going to encourage you, listener, if you haven't heard Mark before, just head on over to previous episode with Mark and you'll get to know how he got where he is now. But on a high level, Mark, can you just bring us up to speed, a nutshell version so we can dive into our topic today and tell us, what do you do?
If you want to get all Alan Watts
Yes, we do.
about it.
We're already off to a good start.
Just got my two more
nice
Alan Watts books in today. Alan Watts, in my personal and professional opinion, is the greatest Zen teacher the West has ever known and will ever know. Teacher. And he said, before all else, I'm an entertainer. And I think about that sometimes because I don't care how valuable the message is. If somebody's boring, and I've been called a lot of things, I've never been called boring. If somebody is boring in their delivery of the thing, man, they're leaving a lot of magic on the table for them and their audience. It's one of two things. First and foremost, I'm either a teacher or an entertainer, and it goes back and forth. And as far as the teaching is concerned, I was an elementary school PE teacher before I got involved in this. And you know what? Our elementary school kids, are they super excited about the finer techniques of dodgeball and swimming and frisbee, or are they there to have some fun? Is fun the vector for getting your message across? I can guarantee you that it is. And then the technique, the instruction, the tutorial, the teaching comes second. And how much different are adults than second graders? Not much. Not much. So, and part of the entertainment factor is my love and appreciation for transformational wordsmithing. So I'm a teacher of transformational wordsmithing. I help people learn about how their words and stories are influencing them, how their words and breath, because that's what the two most foundational building blocks of mindset are, how their words and stories are influencing them for better and for worse. And from there, it's a whole lot easier to work on your mindset. One, when you know what it is. And here's the definition of mindset. Here's the Enlifted definition of mindset. And it's the best in the game, and as far as I'm concerned. It's the story that you tell yourself. That's what your mindset is. It's the story that you tell yourself. And what is that story made of? It's made up of words and breath. Good luck separating those two things. And so, yeah, we teach people about the abracadabra, which is an Aramaic word. It means with my words I create. Most people didn't learn that in English class in high school or any school. And so that's what we do. And the conversation is it's wildly fascinating and cool and entertaining. And that's what I've been doing full time for the past 18 years.
Before it became the cool thing to do, you're the pioneer. It's kind of funny seeing all.
We all walk on the shoulders of giants, and this torch about learning what words force you to catastrophize, which is known as worrying. It's a fancy word for worrying, or what words force you to create endless amounts of indecision, or what words force you to turn people into villains and then yourself into victims and really rob yourself of choose some normal, regular, everyday word power. That conversation has been going on for a long time, and I'm one of the torchbearers of it. There are people that came before me, fantastic people. There are people that are studying this stuff now, like myself. I'm a teacher and a student of this, and we teach coaches about this. They are students, and the conversation will continue to go on as long as people are using words, because some people, they just get around to thinking about their thinking. That's Alan Watts. My favorite quote from Alan Watts. When someone learns to think about their thinking, they become alive in a new way. Most people are not thinking about their thinking. They're just thinking. There's a difference. So we help people get their language, their words and stories working for them so they can go do fun things and enjoy themselves and feel better about their life and enjoy being them. Why? What else is the point?
I love it. There's so much there I want to pick apart and dive down, but I'm like, nope. I am so excited about talking about the spectrum of confidence, because I've noticed so often coaching clients looking for their confidence to come from the external world and validation that it's performance based and it's outside of them, and just teaching them confidence comes from within. But I love this concept, and I haven't ever spoken with you about this, and so I'm excited to learn more about the spectrum of confidence and support the conscious investor in cultivating even beyond confidence, which, to your point, most people don't know there's something beyond having full confidence.
No, they don't. Yep. They're just praying for a sliver of confidence. Here's the news, everybody. And it's neither good nor bad. It is what it is. We're all on the spectrum with stuff. And that spectrum is the confidence spectrum. And it goes like this: insecure, confident, comfortable. I'm going to say that again: insecure, confident, comfortable. Most people, damn near everybody, when they first start out at things, they're insecure about it. Of course, they're not good at it. Why would they be confident about it? Okay. And on an important side note, most people, they think they have imposter syndrome. They really have beginner syndrome. Okay. They're starting out. And when people start out and they feel like they're not good enough, atelophobia, that's the definition of, that's a name for not feeling like you're not good enough. If they keep going, and then they look up to people, they're like, wow, that person's so confident. Man, I wish I could be confident. I wish I was like them, praying for a sliver of confidence. Cool. Keep going. And you will build your confidence, because there's an amount of confidence that is built in conjunction with skill acquisition. So the better someone gets at something, the more confident they get. What number podcast is this for you, Julie?
This will be past 550.
Past 550. Do you remember your first one?
Yes, vividly.
What did that feel like?
It felt like a success because I recorded the first episode, but it was also the first episode for my guest. And we were both trying to have a conversation, and it was a slow, painful process in all reality. I felt successful, but I felt like, oh, wow, there's a lot of room to grow here.
And as your skill at podcasting and conversing and pulling fantastic information out of your guests grew, let me guess, your confidence grew alongside it.
Definitely. Yeah. I don't lose sleep over having guests anymore. I'm comfortable. It's like whoever it is, it's like, okay, I'm ready. We're good. We'll be fine.
Cool. Yeah.
Yep.
You're good enough to talk with them. And that's a, so, and I'll take confidence over insecurity, apathy, resignation every day and twice on Sunday. Okay. And guess what? There is a promised land, everybody. If you keep getting better, if you keep practicing whatever the thing is that you want to get better at, and you will expedite that if you know that your breath is correlated to your ability to be comfortable with whatever the thing is. Okay. So if you look at insecurity, here's a visual represent. Are people watching this video too?
Yes. Head on over to YouTube if you want to actually see this.
Okay, cool. Here's a visual representation, and there's an auditory representation of insecurity. It's like that. It's like you're compressed in, okay, and you're holding your breath, right? Confidence, you position yourself very differently. It's this. Okay, it's usually a like an inhale. But look at my. I mean, I'm presenting myself, but guess what? I'm still rigid and tight to a degree. I'm just bigger, and I'm not breathing all that well. I'm puffed up and showing everybody. And then if you keep going, eventually the breath unlocks and descends, and you'll breathe low and slow, simple words, enlifted words, or diaphragmatically, or you'll be in parasympathetic nerve, and then you're loose. You're loose and you're comfortable in your skin, and that right there. So our second certification, level 2, the second half of level 2 is all about presentation skills and how to build workshops and deliver them. And when we start that second half, the first thing out of my mouth is, guess what the goal is, everybody? For you to enjoy being up there, for you to enjoy being seen, for you to enjoy talking to people, because that is one of the greatest gifts that you can give your audience, everybody, is you having fun up there. And then whatever your information is, it's going to flow so much better. Your rhythm and timing and delivery is inextricably linked to how well you're breathing and how relaxed your body is. Okay. And there's a lot of tension. There's a lot of breath holding with insecurity. There's tension and breath holding with confidence, just not as much usually. And then if you keep going, you'll get into that, like, second time I'm using these words about it, that promised land of comfort. And that's where the whole thing sings, it shines. Most people never get there. And you stand out as someone that's done a damn good piece of work on themselves as far as the identity component of, let's just say, a presenter. And we could take out presenter and put in podcaster. We could take out podcaster, put in professional investor. I mean, do you want your investor to be confident in the financial instruments that they're proposing, or comfortable?
Comfortable.
Myself personally, I want them to be comfortable. I want them to have been in the game long. Oh, and by the way, there's a time conversation in here. Most people aren't going to get comfortable in a year. They're just not. They're going to hang out. If they do a good job, they'll get half, 1 foot in insecure and 1 foot in confident. And it takes time. And so it's a good metric to know if someone's been in their game, not the game, their game, whatever that game is, for a while. I gave a presentation yesterday to 15 people at a startup in Charlottesville, Virginia. And I'm halfway through the presentation. And I told them straight up, I was like, I'm going to tell you what I'm not up here. I'm not confident up here. I'm comfortable up here. I'm over 1,000 workshops delivered. Like I know what I'm going to say. And I'm confident and comfortable in what I say about when it comes to mindset. If I had to talk about thermonuclear physics, I would not be comfortable talking about that. Okay. Or a variety of other things. This happens to be the one thing that I've spent, there's not even a close second, the majority of my time and energy focusing on and learning and exploring, which is words and stories. And I've shared that spectrum with a lot of people, and just knowing that there's something after confident does so much for them. It does so much for them. Knowing that that's there and that you can get there faster if you breathe well.
Okay, I love this. I want to go back to the far end of the spectrum and talk about insecurity, because I think that most people toggle between insecurity and fringe confidence. When I look around the world, that seems to be where a lot of people are living. And I say that based upon how a lot of people present and show up and the choices that they're making or not making to be within full agency for themselves. So I'm curious about that insecurity and how somebody would identify that, because I think that there are a lot of people that are wearing the cloak of I'm confident, but it's kind of like maybe putting on mom or dad's shoes and walking in them when you're 5, and you can't really, you're trying, and so it feels awkward. And I'm really interested. I always love and appreciate our conversations because these are some concepts I have, and I'd love to just kind of hear where you would take that or how you'd edit.
How much friction does someone have? How much friction? And there's all kinds of friction. How much friction does someone have in their when it comes to doing the thing, whatever the thing is? Does someone keep rescheduling shows? I'm sure you've done 550 podcasts. I'm sure you've had some people that rescheduled, flaked, never showed up, blah blah blah, didn't like, you know how does someone feel leading up to the podcast or whatever the event is? Let's say they're speaking at an event, or they're going out on a first date. How much of your nerves do you feel like your heart is in your throat? Are you sweating cold? How loud is that internal saboteur? These are all different kinds of temperature checks that you can gauge, that you can use. Because people have there's a book called The 5 Love Languages. That's cool. And there's also self-sabotage languages. You know, people have different ways, people have different styles of ways of observing. People have different styles of loving. People have different styles of getting in their own way. And observing how frequently and intensely someone gets in their own way, not knee-jerk judging themselves as infinitely and historically and genetically not good enough, observing how they're going about getting in their way instead of thinking that this is just the way I am and it's just the way things are. There's a difference between that. One's a judgment, one, like I said again, it's an observation. Because there's so many different, like, okay, here's an example. I lived in Thailand for a long time, and I did Thai boxing on and off for long enough. And there was a guy at the gym. It was his first Thai fight, and this English dude, and you could just see it as the date got closer, the fight night got closer. The guy was just getting more and more and more wild eyed and wound up. And on the ride to he almost wrecked his motorcycle on purpose so he didn't have to get in the ring and not get his ass kicked, because everybody gets their ass kicked in the fight game. I don't care who you are except for John Jones and Khabib, but whatever. If people know who those they are, but everybody gets one at some point in time. That's not the real scary thing. Looking like an idiot, that's the real scary thing. Not being good enough, that's the real scary thing. Yeah, so it's really observe how and when you get in your own way. And then if you want to get real brutal about the conversation, ask yourself, when was the first time you ever felt that way? Because guess what? That's pluck right in the nose. And it's a conversation for the professionals. And when I mean professionals, I'm like the people that are like, okay, yeah, I got some stuff going on and I'm going to do something about this. When was the first time you ever felt like your heart was pounding out of your chest? Oh, well, because it happens every single time I go to give a presentation at work. Oh, well, that reminds me of when I was bullied in middle school. Because guess what? The adult's emotional patterning of not being good enough, there's something wrong with me, I'm a victim of circumstance. The adult's emotional patterning of that stuff very rarely gets set up when they're an adult. Most of the time, these potential encounters that could be embarrassing or high risk, okay, high risk, high reward, they're pushing buttons from our childhood and our adolescence. And we're just dealing with the outside layer of the onion as an adult. We're looking at the emotional, how our emotional status as an adult. And if you really want to get, it's scary and very encouraging all at the same time. Go find those original memories of when the fear of inadequacy first started showing up. I'm not going to tell you what to do with those memories if you get them. Like, I mean, I can do that. I'm 50% recalling all the things that we've talked about in our shows so far. Most people's insecurity it's coming from further back in their story. And you can clean that up. You can clean that up. And not just talk about it with a therapist. Okay, because if someone goes, this is off. If we're going left field, let's go left field. If there's such thing as talk yourself in circles therapy, everybody. You know what that entails? Going in and sitting down and talking with someone about the same old stuff over and over and over again. If a therapist, if a psychiatrist, if a psychologist, if a coach, if a whoever is worth their salt, then they're going to help the person change the story. The story must change. The client must walk out of the session with a different story than when they walked in. Otherwise, they just paid to get worse, because they just paid to do another rep of the mom issues or the dad issues. And
it's actually more traumatizing.
Yeah, that whole neural synaptic network thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And you're paying for it. And the clock is ticking.
Yeah. Okay.
And by the way, most people will not have 50 therapists in their life. Okay. So if you look at it, it's like the same thing. You know, pick a good person to fall in love with. You know, most people are not going to have 55-year relationships. Hopefully someone gets a hold of a good therapist. And if they don't, they go to another therapist. And if that didn't go well, they pick a third one, and by 3 or 4, they're like, this.
And they quit. I'm going to encourage you, just investor, head on over. If this part about therapists resonates with you, go listen to the episode with Laurel Weirs, because she is a therapist, and we dive into this very thing and about making the movement in therapy and effective therapy. Mark, you said something that was really fascinating, and I love that you brought up 5 love languages, because a lot of people know that book, but that there's also other languages, and people don't talk about that. People don't talk about some of the more challenging things, and to talk about, like, I'd love to hear what the self-sabotage language sounds like.
I don't know what all the self-sabotage languages are. I didn't make that up. I just thought of that as an analogy based on your question, talking about, so I'd never used those words before. Self-sabotage language, or self-sabotage, well, yes, languages. And
Yeah.
there's going to be styles. There's styles of cooking. Okay. There's, some people get in there and they'll make a fantastic meal and they clean as they go. Some people get in there and they make a fantastic meal and it looks like a bomb went off at the end. Some people get in there and they just can't make it happen for whatever reason. But that's so instead of me going, okay, well, here's this sabotage style, and then there's this sabotage style, and then there's that sabotage style. Instead of doing that, I want to put it back on the listener and say, observe how they go about self-sabotaging.
Self-observation. I love it.
And self-observation, and take some notes about it instead of outright judging.
Yeah.
I mean, there are apology languages. There's a book, the guy that wrote The Love Languages, he wrote an apology language. There's people that want you, in order for your apology to land, they need you to feel deep remorse. I know a guy like that. There are other people that if they want, in order for your apology to land, they need to know you take full responsibility for what happened. And then there were some other styles I forgot, but yeah. So yeah, just turn that back on the listener. Pay attention to how you do it. And then I'm not much into labels, but
I love it.
Oh, I'm a cold palm sweating avoidant self-sabotager, or I'm a get drunk the night before self-sabotager and ghost sabotager. Like, I don't know, whatever it is.
Yeah, that's so good. So good. Okay. I had to ask, because I can always sense conscious investor is going to wonder about that. So that's great. So we go from insecurity into confidence, and there are the people on the cusp of that. And we're talking about confidence. We can get confidence by doing the reps, by doing the thing. But what do we tell a person that's looking for their confidence to be coming from the results or from outside measures?
Yeah, some of it will. Hey, I'm a big fan of certain people at certain times, and I do not need much of it at all. And I do enjoy it when someone that I know, love, and trust gives me a pat on the back and they go, "Good job." I'll take that. And it's confidence. Some of it should come from external validation, like a carpenter. How good is your work? Well, there's my work. That's a nice looking deck. Great job on the staircase. Some of it should. So some of it's internal, some of it's external. And the two best ways that I know and the better you do of a job on the internal part, the less external validation you'll need coming from other people. And so the two best ways to improve the process of developing internal confidence is twofold. One, go back there and deal with the scary stories that are getting in the way. As far as mindset is concerned, there's a cleanup job to be had for damn near everybody I've ever met. So go in there and clean up that stuff. Clean the stuff out. Go hire someone who's going to help you with those stories, as in it's going to help you change the way you see what happened and what it means about you. Because a lot of times, that's the greatest of all time coaching question, by the way, everybody. What does this mean about you? A lot of times it's not, let's just say, the bullying that gets people. It's the meaning that we assign to the bullying. Yeah, okay, you got bullied in middle school. What does that mean about you? Oh, it means I'll never be good enough and people will always be attacking me. Deal with those words. Deal with that spell. That's a spell. The definition of a spell is a word or a combination of words of great influence. You got to break those spells. So, by the way, the fastest way to break a spell is to write it down. So, one, you deal with the scary stories. And then two, the second thing is to celebrate wins. And I'm not talking about hyping yourself up. I'm talking about celebrating progress and wins. And the best way that I know to do that too is to pick up a pen and write out the times that people were there for you. So you need to present evidence to yourself in a case for yourself that you are good enough. You need to present evidence that things have gone well at times and you have gotten things right at times. And there have been people there that had your back at times and you have been good enough at times. Is anyone always ever been like every single time no, you don't need to be that way in order to get better. And when you present that evidence to yourself, because there's 3 levels. I don't know. Do I want to use that? Let's just say stories kept in the head. Stories kept in the head of a positive nature. Positive nature, times they got it right, times they knocked it out of the park, times thing worked, the person was there for them, they had a good time, just whatever, good stuff. Stories of that nature kept in the head for whatever reason are almost always far away and not that meaningful and not that pixelated, not that organized. Because stories kept up here, words kept in the head, it's the fastest. That's where the story is going the fastest, and there's the least amount of details, little snippets of words and flashes of pictures. And then, so that's one level. Okay, we will do levels. We'll just do head. That's how the stories are in the head. And when they drop down a level and they come out of our mouth, they are more organized because there's a structure to the English language, and the story goes slower. So the fastest place that the story resides is in our head. It slows down when it comes out of our mouth, and it's more organized. So since the story is slower, we're getting more detail. There's more detail and organization. And then the slowest of the 3, down further still, is writing. Writing is the slowest. And that's why it's the most detailed. When people write out a story that's been in their head, they get more detail. And the devil is in the details for the ouchy stuff. The angels are in the details for the cool shit. And when you write out just the top 5 things that you've ever done, write them out conversational writing, everybody. So I don't make the rules. Half sentences and bullet points don't cut it. Conversational writing is full sentences with punctuation. Give me 2 to 3, 5 different events, specific events, 2 to 3 paragraphs each. And what's going to happen is you're going to externalize that story. You're going to get it organized and detailed. And then you've got it in writing, and you're presenting evidence to yourself. That's when you go, well, damn, I have made progress. I mean, how many people they'll make a lot of progress, and then mechanically speaking, block themselves from being able to recognize that progress. And when I say mechanically, I mean with the reticular activating system, which is the lens that we see the world through, we see ourselves through, and just like a pair of binoculars, and your words bring things in and out of focus. And if someone is using their words in a certain way, they're going to edit out, block out evidence that's contrary to it. So if someone just gets in this negative death doom spiral, catastrophizing victim-centric stories, because we can only focus on one thing at a time. We're going to make it real hard, if not impossible, closer to the latter, to recognize the good stuff. And the Enlifted definition of a loser is someone who stares at the losses more than the wins. The Enlifted definition of a winner is someone who stares at the wins more than the losses. So it's not a noun. Okay, it's not a static label. That person's a loser, blanket statement forever and ever, always has been. No, it's a verb. It's something that we do. Because I don't care what someone's got going on in their life. They've got wins, and they've got wins.
Everyone does. I'm just like amen on all of that, all of it. When we're talking about being being confident, we talked about that, but let's just transition into comfortable. And sometimes I think that, and I'll speak in an I statement. Sometimes I can feel very comfortable.
Okay.
And then it can quickly shift. So it's almost like, oh, I'm not quite fully in that zone yet. And it just differs depending on what the venue is, right? The event is like not literal physical event, but whatever, like this moment. So let's talk about what comfortable looks like.
Yes. And let's talk about what comfortable sounds like.
Thank you. Yes.
Comfortable has a sound to it. And it's comfortable is smooth. Comfortable it's usually dynamic in the sense where it has more range. Wait, let's talk about what it sounds like. Let's talk about how fast it goes. Most of the time when people are talking and they're comfortable, they have more range in their in their speech. And they can get all excited, come up and then bring it all down. And that's because their breath is allowing them to do that. That's because their rate of speech is allowing them to do that. Most people, a hallmark of insecurity, and even some flavors of the spectrum of confident, talking real fast, because the breath is trapped in the chest. The higher and tighter the breath, the faster people tend to talk. And the faster people talk, the more compressed the range is. So they have less ability to express highs and lows with their words. And so it's a more narrow band of expression. Yeah, comfortable. That's comfortable. Sounds comfortable. Comfortable looks comfortable too. You can see it on somebody's face. Comfortable, this might sound strange, it doesn't have an agenda.
Doesn't need to.
It doesn't need to have an agenda. It just is what it is. And it's got that take it or leave it vibe, which, I mean, when it comes to negotiations, what's more powerful than I don't need this deal to happen. Okay. I don't need y'all to like me. I'm here to talk about something that I'm passionate about. And everybody's opinion is you're going to keep on getting weirder about it. There's a Taoist saying that, and I use this term I don't use the term, just this is what they say. A master cannot be brought up by someone else's praise, and they cannot be brought down by someone else's ridicule. And so there's a centeredness. There's a centeredness to comfortable. Okay. Confident it's up here. See how I did with my breath? It's top heavy. Okay. Comfortable you're grounded. You're in yourself. And the body moves different when someone's comfortable. The people breathe different when they're comfortable. People sound different when they're comfortable. Their face, it's hard. It's really hard to fake. It's really hard to fake comfortable. It's way easier to fake confident than comfortable. And one of those reasons is most people that are faking confidence don't even know that they could fake comfort. But if they knew what that, why fake it when you can just do it? It'll take you some time, but man, I'm saying, I think this is the third time I've said it. You got to get your breath under control, everybody. You got to breathe well. Otherwise, you're not comfortable.
Well, let's just give a key point on like getting that breath work under control.
Mm-hmm. Number one thing, talk 5% slower than your normal rate of speech. When someone slows down their rate of speech, the breath loosens up. And to make matters even better, get it? When someone slows down their rate of speech and the breath loosens up, you're giving yourself extra time. You're going to breathe better, so the words are going to sound better. And you're also giving yourself that extra handful of seconds to make better word choices or to more easily get in a stream of consciousness about something. So slow down your rate of speech, everybody.
I get so excited and passionate, and I talk so fast when I do because it's like, woo, this is good. It's a lot of fun, but slowing down can be challenging at times. I absolutely love this. And I think that this is something that resonates so deeply, conscious investor, with imposter syndrome and, just brushing up against that for a brief moment, talking about insecurity, which just so many people feel insecure. You can look around the room and you can see the insecurity and you can see people trying to be confident, and very rarely do you see people that are actually comfortable. So I love that this just expands the mind to the possibilities. And Mark, I just love that this is a different approach to, being confident. It's like, this isn't how a lot of people talk about confidence. And I really value that. You always bring a new perspective.
Thank you. And turns out it's what people want from confident. If you checklisted the people would choose comfortable instead of confident. That's what they think they're getting when they pray for confidence.
That's
is
so
comfort.
True.
But there's a difference.
I love it. Mark, what is the best way? I know that the conscious investor values you and values Enlifted. And what what's the best way for them to get in touch and learn more about Enlifted and what you're up to?
At Enlifted Coaches on IG. And then we have a website that's all about our coaching certification. www.enlifted.me.
At some point, I'd love to just go through the program at some point. I'm like, I just want to do it just because I love learning and I love what you're up to. And I'm like, I think I need to invite this into my life. So at some point, if somebody was like, I don't want to become a coach, but I want to interface more with Enlifted and I want to learn more, would it be appropriate for them to go through the coaching practice, or would it be better for them to get in touch with an Enlifted coach? What would the best route be?
That's a good question. We are to serve that person, which there's a whole lot more out there of them than there are people that want to get certified and coach with Enlifted. We are, this is, I don't have anywhere to direct them. I will in late Q1 of next year. We're opening a mindset gym.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah. So it's, yeah. It's, let's just keep it simple. There's a lot more people that want to go and work out than want to coach fitness classes.
Yeah, definitely.
So we got the coaching, we got the coaching certification, and then now we're opening a gym for everybody else. So yeah, that'll be out in 2025. It'll be fun, just like everything else we do.
I love it. It is going to be fun. So excited. Conscious Investor, I know this episode has served you. And I do say that with comfortable confidence because your feedback has been so loud and clear. And so one way that you can thank Mark is head on over to the Enlifted website and just go to like the contact me and just let Mark and the team know, like, hey, I heard you on the Conscious Investor podcast and I love what you're doing. Or track people down on socials, or just go down, leave a rating and review. I know I'm only supposed to give one thing, but there are the options today because, well, I'm not feeling 100%. But remember, just because you're not.
Professionals do it when they don't feel like it, everybody. Shout out to Julie.
Exactly. Like, you know what? Mark's time in getting our schedules coordinated. Like, this has been on the calendar for a long time. Like, suck it up, Buttercup, make it happen. So, just remember that next time, like, lean into the discomfort. It's not the end of the world. And imagine if I had said, oh, no, I'm not going to do it today, you wouldn't be listening to this right now. Maybe it'd be later, it'd be postponed because it would take a long time. So there's a cost for you too when you are delaying something in your life. Like, so don't delay things, even if it's uncomfortable. Lean into it, step into it. Until next time, live into the fullness of your freedom.